are. You obviously have permissions over and above me.
Same here. Martina can do it.
Started.
Excellent. And good afternoon, everybody. It kind of feels a bit like welcome back. Very happy to have so many people on the call again today, even if you are all presenters and some are in as attendees. We'll get there. I'll have a word with our marketing department after this. The plan for the day is quite simple. Here's the agenda. I'm going to give you a Microsoft update. It's kind of going to follow the standard scenarios that we've always done. We're going to talk about recent Power Apps licensing changes, reduced pricing for certain SKUs specifically. There's also been some interesting reads that have appeared over the last month or so. I'll point you to links where you can get hold of them. I'll tell you what's in them by way of synopsis and summary. There's been a change in the messaging from Microsoft, not just low code, no code anymore. They're talking about fusion development. So give you a bit of an insight into that as well. Really pleased to have QBS on from our sister company, One Click Factory, is going to give us a Field Service 101 overview. Very pleased around that. Absolutely delighted. We've got bespoke.xyz on the call as well. They're going to show us an app and a Power BI dashboard, both a Power App and a Power BI dashboard that they've got in market with their customers. So we get to see kind of the real world showcase as always. Following on from that, Talk With Us is going to go into more of a deeper dive technology around the Canvas App Designer for model-driven apps also. You know, we've got a mixed audience as always. We've got sales, pre-sales, we've got exec on the call. I think one of the things that we try and do is do the business at the start and leave the heavy tech towards the end. So we'll be in we'll follow that format. There's a little feedback survey just down the bottom on that slide. This is basically, it's going to take you 60 seconds. It's very quick. Yes, I liked it. No, I didn't. I would like to see this. I don't want to see that. This is all for you, and it's pretty worthless without your feedback and your input as to what you want to see. So if you do get 60 seconds at the end to fill that in, I would really appreciate it. So to begin, the Microsoft update and the refresh, there's been some interesting announcements over the past couple of months since we were last able to get together. I think the biggest one was around the change in the Power Apps licensing. Microsoft are releasing 2 new SKUs. These are priced much more competitively than ever before, around the Power Apps per user SKU specifically from the complete pricing point of view. So what's been released? Basically, there is a new per app SKU, which is coming in at $5 or local currency equivalent. Instead of previously it was $10 per month. There's also a new per user SKU, which is priced at $20 equivalent instead of previously the $40 per user per month. And there's a few points to note around the per app SKU here. It looks like the costs have halved, obviously. If you think, well, $10 becomes $5, $40 becomes $20, the costs have halved. There are some caveats around the per app SKU in that it will only allow the use of one app or portal. Previously, the per app SKU allowed the use of up to 2 apps and a portal. So if you're using 2 apps and a portal, as in 3 apps in that manner, the pricing under the new model would be $15. So it'd actually be a price increase. It's worth bearing that in mind as a caveat. Also, we're led to believe that the app for Outlook also classes as an app. And so all of a sudden, 2 Power Apps, the Outlook app, the Portals app, you're at $20. It really makes the per user app now the most appealing one in the lineup. And at $20 per user, I think the intention for Microsoft here is to start to drive much more mass adoption of Power Apps moving forward. It's a pretty bold move. It's competitively priced in the marketplace against other providers now also. And it's coming into effect on the 1st of October. So we're still just over a month away. Microsoft actually extended the promotional SKUs from the end of June to the end of September. There's very little relevance to that in the small and mid-sized market. They were enterprise targeted SKUs. It was a case of you had to have a minimum 200 per app SKUs or a minimum 5,000 per user SKUs to qualify for the discount. However, the new SKUs come into effect 1st of October and quite a lot of value in them from there. So that was the first thing that I wanted to highlight this month. Secondly, on to Microsoft Inspire. There was a very bold and a broad announcement from Satya Nadella in his keynote speech. It stated that Teams customers will receive access to Dynamics 365 data within Teams at no extra cost, regardless of whether or not they have a Dynamics 365 license. That's a very bold statement. It was such an exciting announcement. It created a real buzz in the Dynamics partner channel. I mean, after all, if you remove such a licensing tax, that could massively impact user adoption. It could drive real momentum in the sales pipeline, right? Well, when you dig into the details of the announcement, all is not quite as may have been initially perceived. So there's some things here that you need to bear in mind. It appears that this will be done via things known as collaborative apps. So specific apps provided by Microsoft that will control the data that can be accessed. It'll control the data that can be annotated and updated by users within Teams. So as much as the announcement was very broad, this is not a blanket free-for-all for all Teams users to access Dynamics 365 data. Kind of need to make that clear in a free of charge manner. There are some initial scenarios that are going to be supported. The two that have been highlighted are enabling salespeople to share details of sales opportunities, customer history, key contacts, and then customer service. It said it may include sharing the customer case record, sourcing, troubleshooting steps, tracking follow-up tasks, and so on. It said that sales and customer service would be the first two that were included, and there would be a wait and a delay for the other things. Other things highlighted have been, was the ability to add Teams meetings and capture notes via the timeline of the record. Kind of seemed interesting. The other was around automated notifications, connected workflow enablement to share things like deal status to aid with handoffs, for example, kind of post-deal closure. I think for now we need to wait and see what lands in the October 2021 Wave 2 release. Just before anybody gets too excited, I think the most telling statement that I could find around this was around entitling all paid Microsoft Teams users with team members level access to Dynamics 365. And that says it'll allow Teams users to read Dynamics 365 data action upon designated scenarios. In reality, it would seriously limit the amount of interactions possible. We can only hope that Microsoft will extend that as it goes on over time moving forwards. So next up in the Microsoft world, it looked like this was going to be, this was obviously commissioned by Microsoft in combination with the IDC. They published a really interesting, IDC published a market note, really interesting. And it looks specifically at PowerFX. Microsoft PowerFX promises to disrupt the low-code development landscape. It was by standing on the shoulders of Microsoft Excel, if you wanted the full title of this. This was really interesting. It talked about, so I downloaded the document and I read through the notes. It's only short. You've only got kind of 4 or 5 pages here to get through. But it talked about PowerFX and how it has the potential to transform the global install base of Excel users into low-code application developers. And it talks about how that could be achieved because the Excel-based models and calculations, lots of people have written Excel-based solutions in Excel, and they're using the same, similar, if not the same language. You could create those applications through the Microsoft Power Apps platform with a knowledge of PowerFX. That's a progression of knowing Microsoft Excel formulas. So it's a really interesting read. It also talks about how the adoption of Power Apps is going to set the stage for meaningful collaboration between developers of all levels, and that's the citizen or the low-code developer versus the professional developer in Microsoft parlance. It goes on to detail how and why PowerFX can appeal to professional developers, which is really key. It provides simple examples on how it can enable them to edit applications in familiar source code editors. It gives a very specific example where it puts kind of as a single line of code, but it's human readable if you understand what's going on. It talks about processing the image from a camera, and then obviously doing something with the feedback that comes back, obtain the username, detect who it is, that kind of stuff. There's other things in the note. It talks about market predictions of adoption, the developer workforce, the share type of developer workforce, the expansion of the total addressable market of both full and part-time developers. It also very clearly talks about the rationale between how every knowledge worker, so everybody who is familiar with what was once upon a time the Microsoft Office system, became Microsoft Office 365 via BPOS, all those things, they will all become a developer in some kind of way, because the tools that are going into the Office suite of products and the PowerFX integration will kind of drive that through further down the line. So I've read through it. From a strategy perspective, it's a fascinating document. If you already understand the direction and strategy of business applications development, I recommend you read it so as you can keep up to date with what's going on. But for anybody who feels they need to know more about the strategy of Microsoft low-code development, I guess there's a lot of people on this call who already understand it. But if you don't know anything, this is a really good starting guide. For me, it's a genuine must-read, in my opinion. The other thing that I noticed this month, this came through one of the Microsoft newsletters. Microsoft always talked about citizen developer and low-code, no-code messaging, and that was the kind of the platform that they were building Power Apps on top of from a messaging framework perspective. Really interesting. Over the past kind of 6-8 months, they've been espousing something different, and they've been talking about fusion development. And by fusion development, what they're talking about is about integrating professional developers with the citizen or the low-code developers. It leads back to that IDC market note again, which is why I found it kind of so interesting. So this Powerful Devs conference is basically all around having a focus on enabling professional developers to understand low-code concepts. There's some sessions in there, and the planned agenda is around helping professional devs understand how they can enable citizen devs to build Power Apps by using pro-code tools, frameworks. It's the second conference that they're running in this nature. Scott Guthrie is doing the keynote. Executive Vice President, Cloud and Artificial Intelligence, always a really good speaker, generally provides some good insights. Amanda Silver, who's the Corporate Vice President for developer tools, which is quite telling because that's the Visual Studios and the Visual Studio Code side of things. And of course, Charles Lamarna, Corporate Vice President of Business Applications and Platform, are going to be talking at this. So if you're interested in understanding more about the mindset shift, that not every application that a professional developer builds should be code first. And the Powerful Devs conference is hopefully going to showcase how the professional dev community can leverage the Power Platform and build kind of code first, less effort, put code first integrations into Microsoft Power Platform. There's been a whole host of other things published around GitHub, Open API frameworks from Microsoft. It feels like Power Platform is about to grow up in the professional development world. And I think I'm really looking forward to that conference there. I believe it's September the 14th. It's only short. It's only about 4 or 5 hours. Obviously, it's Pacific time, so it's into the evening across in Europe, but that could be really interesting. Before I hand over to my colleague Tony to give you the field service one-on-one, I know there's quite a few of you on this call who come from a Business Central background, or you're also very familiar with Dynamics 365 Business Central. It would be very remiss of me before introducing TalkWithS not to tell you about these excellent events that One Click Factory, QBS sister company, are running. If you want to integrate integrate Business Central with the Dataverse, These are pretty much must-attend webcasts. There's a series of 4. There's one a week spread over 5 weeks, 2 Thursdays, miss a week, and then 2 Tuesdays. They're going to talk about integrating. They're going to talk about the possibilities of integrating. So you're going to get an overview. They're then going to show how to integrate using connectors. In the next one, they're going to show the Business Central integration to Dataverse. This will be mostly kind of product demonstration and show and tell driven. They're then going to cover off the Business Central data via Power BI in the final one. So they're going to kind of cover the integration and the reporting angle. I did mean to put the link on that slide. Looks like I've missed it off. I'll make sure that gets included before the deck gets sent out. But please don't hesitate to register for all of those. There is a single place where you can register for all of them in one go. I'm absolutely not going to miss those calls because knowing what I've seen before of Talk with Us presenting on those topics, it'll be comprehensive and very informative. So that's it for me from this month. For now, I am going to hand over to Torpidas or potentially Tony, if you're not so good at pronouncing longer names. And Tony, Torpidas, you're going to give us the Field Service 101.
Yep, sure. Thanks, Chris, for introduction. Yeah, so I'm not using slides, so I'll go through the demo. And let me see if you see my screen. Okay.
Yeah, we can see your screen clearly.
Okay. So what field service is all about? So as we discussed with Chris, so probably let's do just intro now, because it's really huge app within Dynamics 365 suite, and I think there is still could be 1 hour session just to getting deep dive into everything and etc. But again, running on CRM or customer engagement platform, we have a field service which is already running for some time. Microsoft has acquired some company a while ago and really well integrated into Dynamics suite as one of the apps next to the customer service. So field service is targeting the segment which is related to kind of maintenance of physical assets somewhere scattered around. It means field. You have to go somewhere to install equipment, to service equipment, maintain it, inspect, and etc. It could be, I don't know, cable television. It could be some refrigerators in the retail store. It could be just building maintenance service where you have many buildings in your account and you have to visit and, I don't know, change light bulbs or fix the conditioner or do something like that. So, and actually it's very extensive. It's very connected to other modules like sales and customer service. And if we now open the app itself, so there are a lot of information. So I'll start from the parts which is being defined and maintained within the solution. So first, of course, we are defining the resources. Resources which usually are people who will go on site and to install or fix equipment. And yeah, so it's called bookable resources, and we define them all together. It could be connected to a contacts. It could be users, like internal users of customer engagement, or it could be just a contacts like contractors. It could be other type of resources where we can define also any equipment we need to use, I know cars and etc. as resources. Then we define characteristics. Usually when we speak about specialists, so it could be some certificates, some specific knowledge and etc. So we define the characteristic, proficiency level, and so on. Of course, it's also related to all the billing and payments. So we are defining how we are paying, what are the rates. It's also related to the price lists per customer, per countries, and etc. So it's not only management of the service, but it's also billing connected to that. So yeah, so that's the definitions around the resources, who they are, how they are built, and etc. So we also define the booking rules, how booking statuses, how we are like hard booking, soft booking, how we are dealing with the breaks and the work which is going in progress, and etc. And everything is in our hands to configure and so on. So next, we have inventory. So that was people, and now we have all the physical assets. Okay, it's not assets yet, but products in our warehouse and other places which we can track and manage. So we have thing like warehouse, which could be a real warehouse, or it could be even a truck moving warehouse where we take some spare parts with us when we go on site to fix refrigerator, which we assume we have to take. Then we take it into our mobile warehouse, which is a truck. And we also define so-called transfers of the inventory items when we say that, okay, now this item is now moving from one warehouse to another. We can also define return to the vendor, return to maintenance manufacturer requests, as also issue the receipts when it's kind of the physical evidence that we are moving the equipment from one place to another, or we are moving towards the customer, or taking it back from the customer for the maintenance in-house, and etc. So we are issuing different receipts and bills and so on. So overall, this is the product inventory. So we define sorry, on customer engagement, you always misclick on these links and open the wrong record. So we always check in which table we are now exactly, in which entity. So so here we see that this product, we have two items in this truck. Yeah, so of course it's not extensive, it's not ERP, but that's the way how later we can integrate field service solution with the ERPs, let's say tracking warehouses, and just here we can have the representation of the objects which are much more extensively, let's say, maintained in other systems which are designed for, let's say, warehouse management and etc. But here we can have a representation of all the data specifically for field service purpose. Yeah, then we have sales. It's everything comes from the sales application, which again lives in the same Dataverse environment, and that's really nice because we are getting this integration for free. So we have leads, opportunities, then we do quotations, we do orders, and later we do invoicing, which is also connected to field services. We track actuals, actual time after the deliveries, and then we can automatically generate invoices based on the consumption of spare parts and actual hours based on the price list spent on site. And then it comes to delivery. So delivery, the main object for the delivery, service delivery, is work order. And yeah, so we can create a new work order. It can come just like this, or it can be generated out of opportunity or out of the case when customers are reporting some issues. So work order means that somebody have to go somewhere or maybe connect remotely and fix or inspect or check or do preventive maintenance and etc. Yeah, so of course we find the customer. Yeah, let's say Contoso. Let's see if we have any. No, we don't have any sample data. There are functional locations, like one customer can have many places like retail stores and etc. But we deal with one company. Then we choose what we'll be doing, work order type, and work order type also works as some kind of template and format for a specific types. Let's say we need to go install and replace things. We get price list automatically assigned. And then, yeah, we select incident type, which is sets a set of different tasks and services we have to perform when we go there. Let's say we choose something. There is also predicted time, like 2 hours. Of course, we can change that. And yep, so also we can choose asset. Okay, this customer don't have any assets, but assets, let's say create new, is very important thing in all the field service world. That was also engineering, because asset is physical installation of the product which we installed on our customer side, and later we are servicing it. So that's our physical thing which we are servicing, and we can track the history and we can see how it's doing on other customers, how often it's breaking. We can do some analysis based off our service data and so on. So yeah, many settings around. Then we define. I have to save first. Then we define products, services, which means that products, let's say spare parts, which we can bring with us. Services, we can add specific set of services which will have the amount, the price on it, which later will go to the billing. Okay, that was the incident which I selected was empty, because from other incidents I might get pre-filled those things. And let's see service tasks. Okay, it's empty as well. But yeah, we can switch back to the one previously created. And here I can see, yeah, product, like my spare parts, services, like that was inspection type. So inspect system health, inspect range, inspect line, and I'm getting how long it would take and what would be, let's say, estimated cost for that, each of them. And then I'm getting, as engineer, I'll get the list of tasks which I have to perform. Then there is a knowledge base, the different manuals and etc. could be attached together. Information where, exact location with a GPS coordinates and etc. And later, when work order is created, the next thing is to schedule it. And field service solution has the scheduling board, which is yeah, really, I would say, extensive solution. It's shared across different modules or apps within customer engagement. So it's shared between project service automation, field service, customer service, and also we can connect our own schedulable tables, which we create customly. And this is really nice interface where we can do find, let's say, our resources based on their competencies. We can find by roles and etc. Let's see if we get something. Okay, it got filtered. Let's try find by roles. Let's see. Nope, that combination doesn't work. Let's see. Nope. Yeah, since it's mixed with everything, I'm getting the default scheduling board, and I can have many tabs, and I can also customize it for specific needs, like pre-filtering automatically, so that for a specific dispatchers, it wouldn't mix up to the things which are not part of that. No. Okay, let's get that. Let's find somebody. Then, of course, territories, pool types, teams, business units, and etc. So the many filters, and I can customize. I can add new things. I can see it by map, because sometimes field service is for scheduling very small engagements, and you move across the city. Like you have 10 objects on your throughout the day. You have to go and I don't know, change the mats, for example, the doormats as the service across the different offices. So you go from one to another. And then as a dispatcher sitting in the office, you can just see where somebody is, because later when they are checking in and submitting updating the status, you can see the locations. So you can assign new assignments to the engineers, let's say, or field workers who are close enough to the next assignment, and etc. And then booking, I can just drag and drop to somebody's board, pre-filtered person or a team, and yeah, I can say let's book it, and yeah, resources booked. And later I can also do some modification. I can change the view, let's say hours view. It's again totally different. It's pretty well designed and extensive board. It does not follow the standard Dynamics interface. It's a custom application developed by Microsoft, and it really serves its purpose of all the bookings, and really it is highly customizable as well. Yeah, so then we see all the bookings and etc. Here it's also the list of all assets. And later, when it goes to the engineer, so there are mobile application. I can show it here. But of course, for them, it's optimized for the mobile usage, and also it supports offline access. At the moment, Microsoft maintains two applications, one which based on the RESCO framework. It's out from the third-party company. It was for a while, and now Microsoft is rewriting on its own Power App technologies. So at the moment, they are maintaining two applications. And later you get your bookings, you update statuses, you get the information what should be done, and then you report the time, and also you can get signatures when you do the work of the customer, and etc. Also, quick mentioning that field service solution also has its own module, connected field service, which is IoT connectivity. So there are lots of connection points with IoT through Azure IoT Hub. And also we can do the remote maintenance and remote functions, instructions to all the equipment. We can get kind of maintenance information, or even do try to fix remotely, because yeah, work orders. So all the idea is moving that it's not necessary to go on site, but you can try to fix as much as possible, and IoT is here for that.
So talk with us. Thanks so much for this. I've really learned something here around field service, and that's that trying to fit it into a 15-minute session is perhaps not the smartest thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask for feedback in the chat and questions, and whether or not there's an interest in seeing that in more depth, maybe in a completely separate session. Maybe we could host a separate webcast entirely purely on field service. Obviously, we have the depth of knowledge there. So thanks very much. I think we're going to move on right now to the partner showcase. And I really appreciate you showing us all of that there. We'll be back to you in 10 minutes or so, making sure we leave time for the Canvas apps piece. So next up, really delighted today to have with us Jordan Brooks. Jordan's the Business Development Director from Bespoke. There he is. Hopefully you can all see him, giving us a little wave there. He's going to show us two of Bespoke's recent projects. One is a project management tool created using Power Apps. The other is a centralized Power BI dashboard, which is used to underpin a client's sales strategy in healthcare. Hello, Jordan.
Hello, how you doing, Chris?
I'm all right, thanks. So let's dive straight in, because I think we've overrun slightly based on the original plan. Would it be possible for you to help us understand where the need for these two solutions came from and show them in action?
Yeah, shall I share my screen and
yeah,
talk
hopefully
through
you
as
have
we
time
go?
to write. Yeah, that'd be great. I'll chip in if I've got questions, and I'll put in any from the chat that come through also.
Great, so thanks, Chris. So I'll try and keep it brief. I know we push for time. So the background to this first piece, which is the project management, project and task management application, which we built, which is on screen here. A client of ours, they are a professional service company, and they do a lot of analysis and data analysis and manual reporting based on surveys that they create within healthcare as well. Actually, this is funnily enough, but so they're a healthcare marketing company which offer professional services to collect information on product brands and so on. So what they need to do, because they've got a lot of field workers that work across the country and across different countries in the US and Europe, how they distributed work when new projects came in to those field workers and the analysts that then summarise that work was very cumbersome, and it was all done on spreadsheets and people copying and pasting data from one to another to then consolidate for a client. It was all very complicated and very manual using Excel. They looked at they came to us anyway as their partner and said, we're looking to a project management system. And we sort of looked at the problem, and they don't really need a full functioning project management system like field service, for example, because they don't need to plan resource. It's just allocation of tasks. So what we did was we worked on building a Canvas app for the customer, which allowed them to assign, relatively simple in principle, but a project manager to create a new project, create subtasks for that project, and assign it to an analyst. The analyst could do the same, but not create the new projects. They could assign those tasks and projects to the field workers, and then the field workers would then just see what they have been assigned and then can update those as completed tasks or not. So
that's really interesting, Jordan. So what you've got here then, obviously project management and field service, we've just covered that off. This is actually a Canvas app, and this is built bespoke from the ground up. It doesn't use the Dataverse, or does it?
It does not use the Dataverse. No, it's completely built from ground up.
So the back end could be Azure. The back end could be anything that's needed. Thanks.
In this demo, it's SharePoint list because there's not a lot of data. But yes, it could well be, and would usually be Azure SQL databases.
Understood.
Yeah. So and as well, for the sake of demonstration here, we've got a button depending on which user role we are. But of course, you can configure the user access through row level security based on the role that has been assigned to the individual's Microsoft single sign-on. So if I'm a project manager as managed within Azure AD, then I would see the project manager homepage when accessing the app. Whereas if I was a field worker, I would just see the field worker page. So, which is a really good example of showing how you can restrict and control what's seen within the application. But if I go in here as a field worker at the lowest level of access, like I mentioned, I can just see what projects have been assigned, what tasks have been assigned to me. So I can log into the app every day and say, okay, this is what I've got to work on, this information, this project name. I've got my supporting information, come through and mark as complete once I've finished that. Whereas the analyst, as you'll see, has the ability to view live projects, which looks slightly different again to what the field worker does, because they can see the projects and view tasks. So the analysts themselves have the ability to create tasks for the field workers and mark projects as complete, and then they've got a view of live projects and finalized projects. Again, just getting the ability to control what's seen within the application, depending on user levels. And the project manager has the ability to create a new project and also add and amend users to the tool as well. So the full sort of access in this example. So the benefits of this were it added a significant amount of control to the whole project allocation process for the customer. Control of actually what version of the truth is correct, because a lot of, as you get with spreadsheet work, is a lot of duplicate and conflicting copies. But also, as you can see here, once a project has been created, you can't then change the key elements within the project, and it gets passed down the allocation from project to task, whereas only the editable details that are applicable at that specific stage can be selected. And you can include attachments, whether it's images or supporting workbooks for in this case, it was for the supporting analysis and the questionnaires that the field workers would ask the end client, so they would support that as an attached file. So yeah, hopefully that gives a brief overview of a Canvas app in action.
Yeah, really fascinating. Thank you. I love the brand. Obviously, you've taken what you did for your client and put it onto your own brand there. That looks great. I think one of the things really I wanted to highlight here. Sorry, a little bit of background noise on the go. Thanks. One of the things that I wanted to highlight here is that you've got a Microsoft fully fledged app. You have got the ability to kind of create your own through model driven apps, as people are aware, but we've got partners in the QBS ecosystem that can help out with the creation of these apps also on a partner to partner basis if there's opportunity, and it's something very very bespoke as your business is aptly named.
Yeah, in its nature, it is, as you say, as a Canvas app is a blank canvas. The flexibility is vast. So yeah, it's if there's a custom solution and a lot of the time identifying that as most of the time a spreadsheet is doing the job currently when it shouldn't be, especially if it's multi-user and you need that level of collaboration. Then a Canvas app is usually a good solution.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I was really interested in showing, there is a question that's just come in that, how long does it take from concept to creation to something like the Canvas app that you've seen there?
It's a very good question, because of course it depends on the complexity required within the app. But this one, for example, where it's relatively straightforward dependencies, but there is complexity with the user roles. This project in particular it was around, from concept to start of development was about a week and a half to 2 weeks. And then from that point on, it was about another 3 weeks to create. So just over a month in total. So pretty quick turnaround all the way from concept to sign off from the end customer. So
excellent. Thanks for that. And the other question then was, does it integrate with invoicing at the back end?
This doesn't, but it doesn't mean it couldn't. Yeah, depending on what system you're using for your invoicing. We created a project that links directly to and from Xero within an app. So actually, you could create, you could create those connections for whether it's invoicing or whether it's scheduling or HR data, whatever it might be.
Another opportunity there for the Business Central partners on the call. So moving on, Jordan, interest time. We've got there's this healthcare dashboard as well.
Yeah. So just a quick background of this. The healthcare dashboard that we've created is a overview of the prescription market across the UK. So if you go to the GP and you get prescribed a product, you then it gets logged onto a database, which is about 1.5 billion rows of data based on 20 years of information. What we work with within healthcare and pharmaceutical companies and medical device companies to work on specific drugs and products that company is interested in. We put it into this dashboard, and it allows them to analyze the market and assess their market share and where GP practices are prescribing their product versus their competitor's product. So this product was is a painkiller, I believe, nitrofurantoin, and a couple of others. And what this does, it shows all the manufacturers in that space. It's restricted to 24 months just for the sake of demonstration. But what it does, it allows us to see, based on the manufacturers, how the market share is changing over time. Where it gets really interesting is that when you come into a manufacturer-specific view on the market share, so this company, Advanced Pharma, are quite active within Scotland, as you can see from the heat map. But what it does allow them is to say, okay, well, for example, Advanced Pharma may have a sales rep team that work across the country. So, for example, you might have a Scotland rep, or you might have a West of England rep, or a London rep. What they do is we've stripped out all CRM data, but what this allows us to do is show actuals versus plan. So, for example, if I pick Scotland West here for this company, and at this company there is a sales rep manager for Scotland West, they can see where their product has increased or decreased in market share versus competitors as well. So if I click on where we've lost market share on a 12-month versus 12-month period, I can now come in here and say, right, I can target, and I should be having conversations with this specific practice because for some reason they've stopped prescribing our products, down 12% year on year. Like I've just touched on there, we also overlay CRM data into this for some of our healthcare clients, because they want to see what activities are being done and how is that impacting market share and total spend of their products, so they can start marrying the two up to see, okay, actual performance from the prescription data analysis versus their activities, and what's effective and what's ineffective, especially in the world we're living in now, where face-to-face meetings aren't necessarily happening all the time. So actually, it's what is a Teams meeting more or less effective than a face-to-face meeting, or is a webinar that we're holding more or less effective than a Teams meeting? So it's starting to give these customers of ours insight into what's not only where can they increase their market share, but what activities are the most effective in doing so.
So absolutely fascinating, Jordan. So I could spend all day drilling into this data in this dashboard with you. You've combined data sources then. So you've used Dynamics 365 data in some instances with certain clients, and this is data that's in the public domain. Thank you so much for taking the time to show us this. If there is follow-up from any of the partners, what's the best way for them to get in touch if they've got potential Power App kind of Canvas app creation needs, or they want to work particularly with a Power BI specialist?
I can stick our contact email in the chat. Actually, it's just hello@bespoke.xyz, but I can put it in the chat if that helps.
Yeah, it would. That would be fantastic. There's a link there to your website that'll go out with the deck afterwards. Perfect. So, Jordan, thank you very much for taking the time there. It's appreciated.
Thanks, Chris. Cheers.
Cheers. So, final session of the day, and we're going to head back to Torpedas, and we were talking there about Canvas apps, and also I kind of dropped in a little bit on model-driven apps. Now, Torpedas has assured me that what he's going to show you is in preview, so the demonstration is highly likely to fail and be slightly embarrassing, but I thought it'd be great for everyone to see the gotchas. And just how you can now go about creating Canvas apps also based on model-driven data. Torpedas?
Yeah, so we always actually could do that, and we always had to explain everybody that there is Canvas apps and the model-driven apps. There is one world and another world, like Dataverse world and the modern connector-based world. And now actually that fusion development and the convergence of those two worlds are getting much closer. And actually it's more of enhancement of model-driven apps with the Canvas applications. We used to be able to integrate, embed Canvas apps to a model-driven forms as one control, and or open from the button. But now there is a different story, and let me show that. So I'm now in the Maker portal for Power Platform. I'm in the solution because we should do everything through solutions. And I just created a modern model app, and let me open that. Yeah, you see that it's edit and preview. So actually it's still very buggy, and we had last week a consultancy with one partner who really stuck in delivery, and the problem was this modern designer. But so it's really in preview. Just it's really beneficial to analyze where it's going on and what's the future in. So first, it's modern model-driven app designer, which is much closer to what you see is what you get, where you can add your, let's say, tables or like entities. You automatically can add them into the navigation. Let's say account, traditional contact. Yeah, you can add them into navigation. So navigation is right away here, because previously you should go in very old and clunky interface and do everything separately. So yeah, so sub area, we can name it customers. Yeah, sub area title. Customers. Okay, this we can remove. Yeah, so we can add standard tables and views. We can automatically do the modification for our tables, forms, and views straight from here, while we are watching how it looks like, while we analyzing how it looks like on the different devices. We can zoom in, zoom out. We can test the responsiveness of our solution, and yeah, play around and see how it reacts to different screens and etc. And that's the modern part. So nice addition on top. What we're getting so-called custom pages, which are itself is also in a preview. And custom page so in general is a special type of Canvas app which we are creating inside of model-driven app. And we don't need to jump between two contexts while we are developing, because we are developing it as part as model-driven app. And also when we speak about the app passes and licensing, so this is not treated as a separate application. It's treated as the part of one model-driven app package. And yeah, so everything seems familiar, like a Canvas app. We have a tree view. We have the controls. We insert the controls and etc. The main thing what we should do, and the difference from traditional Canvas apps, is that we should make it responsive from the beginning, because model-driven app is responsive and Canvas app by default is not. So to get responsiveness, it means that it resizes itself. We have to use so-called containers. The first, like master container, which should be taking the full space. We have to do some formulas here to adjust to the parent size, and then inside we add another containers, vertical or horizontal, which will be scaling, and we just adjust them to anchor to the left or to the top, and etc. And then when our screen is changing size, they are floating itself and resizing. And then all the controls we adding inside, then they depend and float over, change the positions based on that. Also, we have less controls than traditional Canvas app. You see, we don't have camera and no barcode scanner and etc. For those, we would still need to go for traditional Canvas app today. And those controls, like labels, text boxes, and etc., they are a bit different. They are much closer to a Teams, Dataverse for Teams controls rather than a traditional Canvas app, because they, by default, they inherit the style of model-driven app, same as the team version of Canvas app. But the nice part and the benefit of using this is that we can connect to, besides the flexible user interface and the nice designs which we can get, like in the Bespokes sample, we can connect to multiple data sources. It's not only about Dataverse tables, which is by default here very well integrated, and the same accounts, contacts, and etc., all the tables, but we can go for any other connectors, and we can connect many other data sources here. Yep, and of course we have to save, publish, and etc., and then that page will appear inside of our model-driven application. So it's very nice. For example, we need to create some kind of custom product configurator next to our standard sales application. We want to allow users to select some or do some planning of the tasks in the planner or other service, so we can have everything in line, and it's much easier. We don't limit it to amount of Canvas apps which are connected, and etc. And now actually it's blending in. If we need really traditional forms-based and views-based application, we use traditional forms and views. If we need more custom things, we can go for those custom pages and use them in line together in much better integrated way. And so this is a full page experience, but we can, if we go back to the solution, inside the solution, yeah, you see that this custom page appeared in the solution as the component, but we can do a new page outside of that navigation, and we can use it as it has two extra modes, like a pop-up, a dialog, or a side panel. So the dialogues, the old feature, which was deprecated many times ago, which was really useful for users to, I don't know, on some error, choose some values. For example, we had scenarios in the project when we inform a user that they selected a wrong customer or something, and we kind of know what to suggest, but we're able to do it in textual form. With a dialogue, we can say, hey, you selected wrong one, select the parent, and here's the list, choose one of that and select OK, and it will be done for you. So this is a scenario which is now possible to do with this custom page, which is opened as dialogue. Also really nice possibility to do it as the side panel, contextual with the same data from the Dataverse, or even data connected from outside. So
talk with us. Thanks for this brief intro. We're actually out of time, and we're going to need to wrap up today. What I've asked for people on the call to do, I've dropped the feedback link into the chat, and if they could feedback in there, if they want to go a little bit more into this depth next month, what we should cover, we really would like to make this session valuable for them. And so we have run out of time. We appreciate everybody's attendance again. Just if you could take a moment, if you could fill out that survey. The next one's going to be on the last Friday in September. It's Friday the 24th of September, and we have Talk with Us available. We will hopefully have Michelle van der Brink back available then to cover off some things also. We really want people to help us drive what's included. Also, as partners, if you think you have a viable solution, something that's in market that you'd like to showcase in the same way that Bespoke have done today, in the same way that other partners have done in the past, I'd love to hear from you there as well. So thanks all. There are no questions in the chat that haven't been answered. So if I could ask Martina to stop the recording. I want to say thanks everybody for taking the time to join us today. Have a great weekend, and speak to you all